So this might be the funniest episode of the season. No joke. This episode is very, very funny. It is pretty much a Sonic X interpretation of the third Sonic game. That's pretty much exactly what it is. So, as Biscuit nibbles on his food in the background, let's talk about why this is one of the best episodes of the season. What's up, what's happening, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Station, which is your favorite animation, including a blue hedgehog that runs faster than the speed of sound, as well as TV and movies. I'm your host, Jackson Small. Welcome back to SoniCemberX. Welcome back to Sonic X. Let's take a look at episode 5, Cracking Knuckles. This episode's hilarious, this episode is fun, we're just going to dive right in. And like I said before, we are back to full analysis now. Not the rush stuff we did for the past two. So, once again, it's a pretty long, meaty plot, so sit down, relax, and enjoy, and I will go through it as quick as I can. At supersonic speed. Almost. As Reggie antagonizes. Goofy guinea pig. Alright, let's begin. The episode begins at night at an unnamed street, where Knuckles the Echidna is sighing and feeling saddened about being away from his Master Emerald. After looking at the newspaper featuring Sonic battling Dr. Eggman suddenly Eggman approaches him and goes on his knees, and surprisingly grabs onto Knuckles' hands, much to his shock, begging for Knuckles' help. He tells that Knuckles that Chaos Control can send them back to their world if they have all the Chaos Emeralds. A flashback of Sonic breaking into Dr. Eggman's fortress is shown from episode 1, while Eggman persuaded that Sonic intended to use the Chaos Emeralds to travel through time and space all along. In other words, he's manipulating him the same way he manipulated him back in the third Sonic game. Knuckles mumbles to himself that it was Sonic's doing. Eggman remarks that he simply wants to live his life quietly and peacefully on his home world. He adds that Sonic will not believe him and that the hedgehog does not wish to go back. Sonic also snatched the Chaos Emerald from the Doctor so that he could not use them to reverse Chaos Control's effects. He claims that all Sonic is doing is playing around in the new world, considering it is better than the world that he, his friends, and Eggman came from, angering Knuckles even more. When Eggman thought that Knuckles is supposed to be buddies with Sonic, Knuckles quickly denies it and vows that he will settle this issue with Sonic once and for all, to a battle to the bitter end as well as taking the Chaos Emerald. Eggman smirks in response, knowing that his scheme has worked. The next day, Chris and Tails are admiring the Chaos Emerald in Chuck's lab. However, Ella, the maid of the mansion, and her first ever episode appearance, tells them that she is coming up, which prompts Chris to tell Tails to hide. Finding nowhere, Tails quickly slumps on a beanbag and pretends to be a stuffed animal. This part might be my favorite in the episode outside of the fight with Sonic and Knuckles, because this part's just funny. The two of them acting like stuffed animals. The two of them, as in a certain other someone I'll talk about later. Ella sees it and says that it looks cute before Tails moves his eyes to greet her. He gets surprised, but Chris snatches Tails and runs up with him before she can respond. He, Tails, and Chuck run out to the yard, claiming that their situation back there was close. The commotion wakes up Sonic from the nap that he's taken on the balcony, leading him to remark that he can't take a nap in peace. Okay, where were we? Kristen bumps into Mr. Tanaka, who quickly asks him what he's doing. Chris awkwardly replies that they're playing around with the stuffed animal. Chuck is about to follow when Tanaka snapped that since Chuck is taking a break from his studies, it would be the right time to go to the swimming club. Chuck says he doesn't wish to, but Tanaka pushes him off, saying that Sundays should be regarded as holidays and that he needs a break. Well, it's a little different in the dub. In the dub, it's that it's time for his nap. 4 kids being 4 kids, they changed the most random of things. Chris and Tails watch right before Amy runs into both of them unannounced, as she does. Tails falls off of Chris's back and Chris is startled. Chris turns and scolds Amy that she should not be running outside. Amy, however, informs them about another Chaos Emerald sighting in a TV report where, at around Silver Valley, there's been confirmation of energy spikes similar to the one that happened the day before, when they found the first Chaos Emerald. Tails assumes that these energy spikes are emitted by a Chaos Emerald, while Chris notes that the Silver Valley's not far away. And then they all proceed to leave the house. Amy stops by Sonic and asks him if he would like to come to Silver Valley for a picnic. Sonic remarks that he's already visited there without Amy, causing her to be upset. It's going to go back and forth like this for a while. Chris says they cannot go anywhere without being driven, but Tails suggests his own idea. The next scene shows them all on a train, with Tails and Amy acting as stuffed animals on Chris's shoulders. Yeah, that's the other one I was mentioning. Amy has to pretend to be a stuffed animal on the train, and it's funny. The public stares at him, looking confused, but they are ultimately not found, even when Amy kicks a little girl into the side of a doorway for pulling on her ear, and remarking that she wants to blink, but she can't because it will give away her position. Oh, the comedy in this episode is so good. It's just so freaking good. The distraction caused by the girls crying swayed the public's attention away from the heroes. Meanwhile, Sonic is delivered a message in the form of a television by Bakun, who we're going to see plenty more of in this show, which recorded Knuckles' message. He tells Sonic that he's ready to settle things with him at Silver Valley. Sonic has a mixed reaction to this before the message explodes in his face. Where he's covered in soot, he gets angry and accepts Knuckles' challenge. At Silver Valley, Chris, Amy, and Tails have decided to go through with their picnic after all. Tails remarks that they do not have any clues as to where the Chaos Emerald could be, and that they should look around. Right before they begin, though, a large purple robot known as E47 Pumpty. Don't ask me why it's called that, I don't know. Surfaces from the lake in front of them, quickly scooping the three of them up and trapping them inside of it. Eggman flies down and reveals himself to them, saying that the energy that was being emitted was from one of his robots and not a Chaos Emerald. Tails makes a remark about humans always jumping to conclusions, and Amy tries to break free with her Pika Pika hammer, but the glass remains intact. Eggman tells him that he needs them in case the Doctor's plan to defeating Sonic fails, which obviously involves Knuckles and him fighting. When Amy points out that Sonic will not be coming, he points to a cliff where Knuckles waits. Just then, Sonic arrives. Knuckles angrily tells him that he's late, a joke that we've heard a lot of times, and many other Sonic-related things. Sonic responds nonchalantly that his face is unwelcoming. He goes on a little talk about how nice the weather is and how good the flowers smell, which only gets Knuckles angrier. He tells Sonic that they are going to settle things. Sonic chuckles and says Knuckles, chuckles, Knuckles, rhymes, funny, does not want to fight him. Knuckles simply demands Sonic to give the Chaos Emerald back. Sonic looks a bit surprised for a second before quickly reverting back to his smug style and teasing him. This sets Knuckles off, and the two have a small standoff before Knuckles charges and hits him with his fists. Sonic dodges them, because he's Sonic, and looks annoyed. Knuckles continues his assault with Sonic dodging and kicking back at him. More punches eventually lead them to the forest, where Sonic proceeds to run up a cliff from there and onto a tree. He makes a comment about the great view right before Knuckles grabs the tree and tosses him away. Sonic lands and runs off to escape numerous other trees that are being punched down by Knuckles. All of them miss, while Sonic taunts, which promptly lead Knuckles to go on an even wilder assault. In other words, Sonic is trying to use Knuckles' anger to his advantage and to Knuckles' disadvantage. Sonic eventually flips back over to Knuckles and spins into a saw-like shape in order to attack him. In other words, he homing dashes. I don't know why they just call it a saw shape. Weird. He hits him and they land in the water. Sonic freaks out when he realizes he's in the water, only to see Knuckles' annoyed face and realize he's in the shallow pool. Which then leads him to remark, "Good thing I landed in the kiddie pool." This episode is just so funny. The two continue their fight with Eggman happily rooting for Knuckles, as you do. Amy looks on and realizes easily that Knuckles is being deceived, showing that she's not dumb to this plot and knows exactly what's going on. Tails, after all this time, manages to break into the robot's mainframe in order to figure out how to disable the robot. However, Amy is unwilling to wait and raises her hammer up to the wiring. Despite Tails and Chris's protests, Amy slams her hammer into the machine. Because she doesn't listen very well, is what I'm getting at. She doesn't listen very well. Small mechanism sparks and explodes with all of them inside of it. Sonic notices the explosion and finally looks over to see Eggman cheering for Knuckles. Sonic runs over there with Knuckles yelling back at him that they're not done. Sonic ignores it and rams through Pumpty's legs, causing it to fall backwards. The glass breaks and Tails, Amy, and Chris are almost free. Eggman then proceeds to yell at Sonic about the destruction of his robot as well. He tells E47 to get up and take them out. He acknowledges and starts to fire on all of them. Sonic runs away from the blast. Knuckles shows up and kicks the robot's cannons off, and then yells at Eggman, saying that he was the one who was going to take care of Sonic. Eggman then gets angry and tells Knuckles that he was promised that he would take care of, but Sonic still has not been defeated. His robot, still carrying Tails, Amy, and Chris, flies off to the other side of the lake. Eggman says he will return Sonic's friends if he hands over the Chaos Emerald. Knuckles looks a bit confused and recalled that Eggman told him earlier that all he wanted was to live in peace. Sonic smugly tells Knuckles that it seems Eggman's intentions were not what they thought they were. Eggman realizes that Knuckles lied to him, Knuckles realizes that Eggman lied to him, and feels an anger boiling again. This is a mouthful of a plot, but we're almost done. Hang in there. Eggman gets Sonic's attention and tells him that his weakness is water. He wonders if Sonic can cross the lake to reach them. Sonic smirks and says he wonders as well before going around the lake and easily destroying the robot's legs. Eggman looks at the scene, shocked by such an easily noticeable mistake, and watches Pumpty fall to the ground again. This time the glass breaks completely free and Tails, Chris, and Amy are set free. Amy then begins crying and hugs Sonic as the robot explodes, much to Sonic's dismay, telling him she knew that he would save her. Eggman grumbles and that's it. Knuckles arrives and tells Sonic that he will handle it. Sonic says that would be great. Knuckles runs forward and delivers the killing blow to the robot, finally finishing it off. Despite it exploding earlier, it was somehow still alive. That is one persistent robot. He punches through its body and climbs on top of it, then reaches Eggman's Eggmobile to punish Eggman for his dissension. He angrily calls Eggman a liar and punches the Eggmobile, along with Eggman, far off into the sky where he disappears in a twinkle of light. Insert obvious Team Rocket Pokemon joke here. He's blasting off again. Knuckles then delivers one final decisive punch to Pumpty's head, and the robot finally explodes. The debris is sent flying everywhere and sends Knuckles flying off with the wind. Sonic quickly grabs his arm, saving him from any collision that could have been made with the rocks by hanging onto a tree. After the ordeal, Amy hugs Sonic again, happy that he's okay. Sonic smiles and goes to do what he does, while Knuckles walks off. Amy follows Knuckles for a bit and tells him that he must feel like an idiot for trusting Eggman and that he wants to apologize. Only he's too proud of it. Knuckles tells her to shut up, which is where that infamous meme comes from, to which she just smiles at. Knuckles smiles back at the rest of them one last time and walks off on his own once again, ending the episode. Quite an episode. I'm only going to talk about the regional differences here because I need to do final verdict, and these guys need tended to, so I'm going to make this quick. Regional differences. During the flashback to episode 1, there was no dialogue in the Japanese version whatsoever. In the dub, Eggman speaks during the flashback. The same flashback has about 9 seconds deleted. Okay. Eggman's base is still known as Chaos Control in the dub. Oof. In the English dub, Eggman is yelling "Get him, Knuckles" in the direction of Pumpty, an obvious animation error. In the original, he's saying "Don't break it, hey, you, stop it," referring to the explosion inside Pumpty caused by Amy's hammer. An 8-second scene of Eggman's robot shooting missiles all over was cut in the dub. I don't know why, I guess for time reasons, but I really don't know. In the Latin-Spanish dub, when Knuckles is leaving, Chris says, "Oye." Hey in Spanish, apparently, instead of calling him by his name. Oops. Translation error. Okay. Now, to give you final thoughts and final verdict, which is right here. Probably one of the funniest episodes of Season 1 with Knuckles being tricked by Eggman, nice homage to the Sonic 3 video game. His battle with Sonic is pretty good. It's one of the better fights of the show. Ella is introduced, adding to the cast, and she gets way better and way funnier later, trust me. The writing is hilarious. Non-stop, this episode's just throwing joke after joke after joke, and almost all of them actually work. The banter between Sonic and Amy is great. The situational comedy of Amy and Tails pretending to be stuffed animals on the train is just extremely funny, and entertaining value is pretty high. This is such an enjoyable episode and a real treat for Sonic fans who haven't seen it yet, especially the back and forth with Jason Griffith's Sonic and Dan Green's Knuckles. Worth it for the file alone. Final verdict, 9 out of 10. Check this one out. It's a great Knuckles episode, and it's just a great episode of the show in general. One of the best of Season 1, and arguably the funniest episode of Season 1. Well, that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more videos like this almost every single day, and I'll see you guys next time when we dive into the weirdest episode of the season. I'll tell you all about it when we talk about Techno Teacher. It's a very weird episode, that's all I'm going to say, but buckle up.
Lesson I will soon forget. So listen and you won't regret. Be true to yourself, don't miss your chance, and you won't end up like the fool who ripped his pants.